Hi, this is New Time on Silkway TV channel. We introduce you with the most visible news and important events that happened throughout this week in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. More details on politics, economy, social and cultural life with opinions from the most recognizable experts of Kazakhstan and world. I'm Daurian Sagulov, and let us begin. President Tokayev convened an urgent meeting in response to mounting instability in global markets, triggered by falling prices for energy and key commodities amid escalating tariff disputes between major world economies. The meeting was attended by the Prime Minister, the Governor of the National Bank and other senior officials. The President instructed the government to finalize an anti-crisis action plan as soon as possible, aimed at minimizing the economic impact and preserving the country's investment appeal. The head of state stressed that despite current challenges, Kazakhstan's key economic development priorities must move forward. Let me remind you that on April 9, the price of Brent crude oil fell below $60 per barrel for the first time since 2021. After US President Donald Trump declared a day of liberation from what he called the unfair exploitation of America by its friends and partners, the global economy is now on the brink of unexpected upheaval and possibly a crisis, experts warn. While tariff hikes for many countries, including Kazakhstan, have been postponed for 90 days, the trade conflict with China is escalating rapidly. Beijing faces an unprecedented 145% tariffs, and negotiations with other countries are still ahead. World leaders are sounding the alarm, warning that the impact of Trump's trade war could be catastrophic. Global trade may slow dramatically, and the US itself faces the risk of recession. Even Elon Musk, one of Trump's closest allies, has spoken out against the tariffs. But so far there are no signs that US President intends to reverse course. More on this in our next report.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time.
These words mark the beginning of a historic global market crash, wiping out over $10 trillion from the world's leading stock exchanges, even by conservative estimates. President Donald Trump wasted no time in illustrating what he called fairness, unveiling large charts and tables during his announcement. His list of tariff-targeted countries included over 75 nations, with China, which Trump described as America's longtime trade adversary, topping the list.
So, if you look at that, China, first row, China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers.
To bypass congressional approval, President Trump declared a national economic emergency, a move that gives him the power to impose tariffs and other economic measures unilaterally. A base tariff of 10% came into force on April 5th. Mirror tariffs were expected to follow on April 9. But on that very day, Trump suddenly announced a 90-day freeze for countries that refrained from imposing retaliatory measures. This roller coaster of decisions left many American lawmakers baffled and furious. Moments after Trump's announcement, U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer faced heated questioning in Congress. Nevada Congressman Stephen Horsford demanded answers. What did Greer know about the pause and when? Horsford even suggested that the sudden move could amount to market manipulation, an accusation Greer firmly denied.
What do you know about this pause? What are the details of it?
Well, the details, as I understand it, is that China continues to retaliate. Other countries didn't retaliate. The president 2 or 3 days ago said we wanted to negotiate with those countries that asked for meetings. That's what we're doing.
What are the details? How long is the pause? How many days? How many weeks?
I understand it's 90 days. I haven't spoken to the president since I've been.
So the trade representative hasn't spoken to the president of the United States about a global reordering of trade.
Yes, I have. I've just been in the hearing with you, sir.
But yet he announced it on a tweet? WTF? Who's in charge?
The president of the United States is in charge.
Is this market manipulation?
No.
Why not? If it was a plan, if it was always the plan, how is this not market manipulation?
It's not market manipulation, sir.
Was it market manipulation, and who profited from it? That's now up to the US Congress to investigate. But here's what matters. Trump suddenly narrowed his focus. What began as a trade war with the world has now turned into a battle on a very familiar front. China, which supplies 14% of all US imports, from iPhones to children's toys, was hit with a staggering 145% tariff.
What happens with China? We would love to be able to work a deal. They've really taken advantage of our country for a long period of time. They've ripped us off beyond nobody. How people stood for it, sitting in my position, is not even believable. And we're talking about many presidents, not just a couple. But they did, and all we're doing is putting it back in shape. We're resetting the table, and I'm sure that we'll be able to get along very well.
There had been hope that Trump's tariffs, while disruptive, might remain a negotiating tool in broader trade talks. But China's response has made one thing clear. The world's second-largest economy is ready to retaliate, signaling the start of a full-scale trade war. Beijing has raised tariffs on US goods to 125% according to China's Ministry of Finance. And this may not be the end of its response. Chinese authorities have already launched antitrust investigations into Google and Nvidia, and experts suggest Beijing may also restrict Chinese firms from investing in the United States.
I
would like to once again emphasize that there are no winners in tariff or trade wars. The Chinese side doesn't want to be involved in a trade war, but we are not afraid of fighting one either. We will not sit and watch the legitimate rights and interests of the Chinese people deprived, or the international economic and trade rules as well as the multilateral trading system destroyed. If the US insists on tariff and trade wars, China will fight them to the end.
Experts say President Trump launched this trade war with a dual purpose: to strengthen America's bargaining position and to shore up public finances. With US debt servicing costs on the rise, the White House is now betting on import tariffs as a source of revenue. But Trump isn't just demanding lower tariffs. He also wants partner countries to buy back the full value of the US trade deficit. That demand alone changes the very idea of dialogue and significantly raises the risk of recession. Adding fuel to the fire is the president's public rhetoric, which continues to escalate the tensions.
I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir.
The United States and China together make up a major share of the global economy, around 43% this year, according to the International Monetary Fund. IMF analysts warn that if the trade war continues, it will likely slow economic growth in both countries or even push them into recession. And that would almost certainly spill over the rest of the world, dragging down global worth and hurting international investment. Daurin Asagulov, New Time. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev has warned that the world is facing a looming global economic storm triggered by escalating tariff wars, which will inevitably impact Kazakhstan as well. The head of state noted that although a 90-day moratorium on US tariff hikes is now in effect, the situation remains highly unstable. He emphasized that the government is closely monitoring developments and taking the necessary steps to mitigate risks to the national economy. Despite rising concerns, the president urged the public to remain calm.
Many experts say that the world is on the brink of one of the worst crises in decades. The unfolding tariff wars of all against all are disrupting supply and trade chains, causing market declines and high volatility in commodity prices. This will inevitably affect all countries, including Kazakhstan, but I am confident there is no reason to panic. We have always overcome challenges by staying focused on our priorities.
We're now joined by Janibek Aygazin, CEO of the Applied Economics Research Center. Mr. Aygazin, it's good to see you again. We've all heard President Tokayev's reaction to the global trade tensions. He said it will inevitably affect Kazakhstan, and it's serious enough that another high-level meeting is already being planned for the next week. So let's get straight to the point. How exactly could this trade war hit Kazakhstan? Could you break it down for us step by step?
Yes, indeed. I think it's what is announced by Mr. Trump past week. It was like a shock for worldwide the global economy. Of course, this is like this is tension related not only for I think economic point. Probably it's just for, of course, for geopolitical and other issues. So that's why, of course, you can maybe to see more political things or just it's business. You know, Mr. Trump, it's just came from his business, and he's just this is point to the look on the life. It's through his concrete deals. Just he is every time he just announce, I just wanted to deal with Ukraine or with Mr. Putin, whatever. So of course this is it's not like first time for global economy this treated. I mean, this is trade wars, because it was in economic history actually. If you just refer to 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it was same trade wars, Japan and American, and finally this, of course, they solved this issue because it was a very big impact from Japanese export to the American condition of economy of USA, especially for automobile industry. And you know, with this
Yes,
problem
Janibek,
with
I
Detroit,
think it is
they
topic for the second question. Talking about Kazakhstan, could you explain how it would hit Kazakhstan exactly?
Yes, okay. Of course. First of all, I want to maybe to share maybe two channels. Concrete, this is direct channel, and indirect channel. I think it's most important. We must just detect this is indirect channel. Direct channel, it's actually this is a trade channel. Trade channel, you know, they they oblige additional tariff on our export of Kazakhstan export. You know, actually our export is consist mainly it's raw material, it's raw goods. And just you know, they announced when he announced his plan, tariff plan, and it was to this. I mean, to his package, it was additional annex and some exclusion for goods who is just has most strategic most strategical for American economy. And of course, this is raw material. It's of course it's it's metal, it's uranium, and another raw material. We must do how to say keeping in our mind. Actually, this is it's based on our estimation of IRC. Our estimation it was it's at least just let me check, at least 93% of goods exported to the US. It's actually it's not subject to the new customs duties actually, and of course it's direct impact. I just talking about this is indirect impact. I mean this is sentiment of the market, because this is announced. It's just maybe to arise any like uncertainty in global economy, because this is trade. It's I'm not sure. No, actually, it's clear. It started trade war, American and China, of course. You know, he's just, of course, they postponed his on 90 days. This is new custom duties for all countries, excluding China. And for China, he's additionally arise. This is additional new tariffs. It's above 100% actually.
Yes, yes.
So,
To be exact, it's
if you
145%. Yeah.
I mean, yes, indirect. It's of course, it will affect on the inflation inside and in America. Of course, you know, it's about 500,000 of household in American household is actually doing business with is just a service and doing business with Chinese company. You know, it's issues of course, it's consumption with it, consumers, households, and of course, related to the creating new jobs. So, and of course, it's inflation. This is, of course, will impact on global economy growth. And of course, this is global economy growth will affect on influence on commodity markets. Commodity markets, it is goes to go into the downside. So downside, it was, of course, it's not so good news for for us because we are actually exporters of raw materials. It's commodity goods. So it's so pity actually for us, for our exporters. Of course, for our exporters, it's directly go to the condition of national funds, and it's national funds. Of course, you know, is they finance Republican budget. That's all linked actually.
Yeah.
Whole picture.
Zhanibek, we don't have much time. I've got one last question. Some experts and politicians claim that Trump's tactics, announcing tariffs and then freezing them, amount to market manipulation. Do you agree with that view?
Yes, it's partially, of course, he's just businessman. Yeah, he tried to do some good deal for him, of course, and good deal maybe for America. Actually, yes. It's like, you know, it's like inside trading. You know, inside trading, actually, it's crime, actually. But some experts say he's just, he knows about shadow information. He's just try to trade on his own, using and manipulate with his inside information. So that's why I think it's indeed, it can be.
Thank you so much, Zhanibek, for your insights. We'll be watching this topic closely. President Tokayev and President of Serbia, Aleksandar Vučić, held a phone call conversation to discuss the implementation of agreements reached during Tokayev's official visit to Belgrade in November last year. The two leaders emphasized the importance of strengthening trade, economic and investment ties, including the practical executions of joint initiatives in key areas such as industry, energy, construction, agriculture, digitalization, transport and logistics. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev concluded the conversation by reaffirming his invitation for President Aleksandar Vučić to pay an official visit to Kazakhstan. Iran has placed its military on heightened alert following US President Donald Trump's threats of bombing, Reuters report. Tensions are rising as the US targets groups linked to Tehran, including Hamas, Hezbollah and the Houthi rebels, with the situation complicated further by the fall of Syria's Assad government. Iran has warned neighboring Arab states, including Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE and Turkey, that any support for US operations against Iran will be seen as an act of aggression. Earlier, President Trump declared that if Tehran refuses to cooperate, the US will resort to unprecedented bombings. In response, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian confirmed that Iran is holding indirect talks with the US over its nuclear program, following Trump's mention of possible direct talks.
We are holding talks, as the Supreme Leader has stated indirectly, with dignity and pride, and with every assurance necessary to show that we are not pursuing a nuclear bomb. We are not seeking war, but in the face of any aggression, with the knowledge and capability that our dear ones, Iranian scientists, have created, we will stand powerfully.
A 5-year political ban and a $100,000 fine and a 4-year prison sentence, 2 years suspended and 2 to be served under electronic monitoring. That's the sentence handed down by a French court to far-right leader Marine Le Pen. The court found her guilty of corruption and barred her from running in the 2027 presidential election. Still, Le Pen and her supporters aren't backing down just yet. They are preparing to appeal. But the big question remains, will they be able to do it in time? Baljan Samigulina has more in this report.
At a meeting of far-right European politicians in Madrid last month, Marine Le Pen, the leader of France's National Rally Party, said Europe was at a turning point.
Every future election in Europe will fall to us like dominoes, as if the political game was aligned in an unstoppable moment.
But something may stop Le Pen, unusual case for the French policy and potentially devastating for her party. The court found her guilty of misusing European Union funds. The trial centered on allegations that Le Pen used EU money to pay party staff. Then the court imposed to the tune of $3.1 million. While she won't face jail time, the ruling effectively ends her hopes of running for president in 2027. And that's a tough blow, especially as new polls had her as the front runner.
This ineligibility removes a candidate from the next elections, and for me it's really problematic.
Le Pen and her co-accused, however, deny all charges. She claims the trial is politically driven and compares the ruling to those seen in authoritarian regimes, an opinion echoed by her supporters.
The reason we're protesting is that we want to appeal to provisionally suspend the sentence.
8 other party members and 12 parliamentary assistants were also convicted, part of what prosecutors described as a decades-long fake job scheme within the European Parliament. According to the prosecution, Marine Le Pen not only benefited from the system, she oversaw it. Steve Brouat, the mayor of Hélène-Beaumont, called the 5-year ban of Le Pen running for office anti-democratic, a sentiment that is now fueling debate across France's political spectrum.
It's a scandalous conviction because it aims to deprive millions of voters of their candidate for the presidential election, and the verdict is clear. It wanted to get Marine Le Pen to stop her being a candidate for the presidential election. The verdict isn't a legal one, it's a political one.
Still, Le Pen insists she is not leaving the politics. Despite what she calls a personal political catastrophe, she says she will turn it into a symbol of resilience. Her comments came as thousands of supporters rallied in Paris, but not everyone is on her side. Demonstrators across France defended the court's decision, arguing the far right poses a threat to democratic values. According to a new LA poll, 57% of respondents said the ruling was justified, while 42% saw it's politically motivated.
This reminded everyone of 3 things. The first is, of course, the judiciary is independent and makes its decisions independently, and so it has to be respected as a pillar of our democracy. The second thing was to remind everyone that threats made to judges are unacceptable and intolerable, because we are in a democracy and judges are independent and need to be respected. And the third thing was to remind everyone that each person has the right to the same justice, and that right is the same for everyone.
Marine Le Pen has long aimed to become France's first far-right president. She's run 3 times, twice finishing second to Emmanuel Macron. And with Macron unable to run again, many believe 2027 would be her moment, including Le Pen herself. Now that path is on jeopardy. She said she will appeal, but legal experts say a decision likely won't come in time. Few expect such a hard sentence, and the consequences are likely just beginning. For Le Pen, it's a devastating setback at the very edge of power. Bojan Samigulina, New Time.
Since October last year, Kazakhstan has received 12.6 billion cubic meters of water from Uzbekistan, exceeding previously agreed volumes, according to the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation, Nurjan Nurjigitov. He stated that this water will be used to meet the needs of farmers during the irrigation season, particularly in southern regions of Kazakhstan, which are heavily reliant on water supplies from Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. The minister also stressed the importance of joint regional efforts to address growing water scarcity. For this and more on this week's top stories from Central Asia, we're joined now by political expert and observer Ozhet Shikirbayev. Ozhet, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dorian, for giving me the floor. I'll be ready to share my Central Asia news just in a moment. Kazakhstan received 12.6 billion cubic meters of water from Uzbekistan for irrigation. This is 1.7 billion cubic meters more than was planned previously. The water will be used for the needs of farmers in the southern regions of Kazakhstan during the irrigation season. Earlier, at the 12th meeting of the Joint Working Group on Deepening Bilateral Water Cooperation, Minister of Water Resources of Kazakhstan, Mr. Nurjan Nurjigitov, and the Minister of Water Resources of Uzbekistan, Mr. Shavkat Hamrayev, agreed that more than 16 billion cubic meters of water will be sent to Kazakhstan from October 2024 to October 2025. Also, about 1.8 billion cubic meters of water were sent to the northern Aral Sea, which is 120 million cubic meters more than previously was predicted. In addition, following the 89th meeting of the Interstate Coordination Water Management Commission of Central Asia, the Kazakhstan's Ministry of Water Resources reached an agreement with Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan on receiving about 3.7 billion cubic meters of water along the Sirdarya River during the irrigation period of this year. This is an important achievement in the development of water diplomacy of the Central Asian countries. Almost every meeting at the level of the heads of the states includes water issues. In addition, according to the World Bank, against the backdrop of population growth in Central Asia to 90 million people, a water deficit will be grown to 25–30%, which is expected by 2050. On April 11, 2025, a meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the Commonwealth of Independent States and the 8th meeting of foreign ministers in the Central Asia-Russia format were held in Almaty. During the CIS foreign ministers meeting, issues of further strengthening cooperation within the Commonwealth, coordination of efforts in trade, economic, cultural, humanitarian and other areas of interaction were discussed. Within the framework of the meeting of foreign ministers in the Central Asia-Russia format, issues of interaction between the countries of the region in the trade, economic and investment, transport and logistics, and cultural humanitarian spheres, as well as in the field of ensuring global and regional security were discussed. Special attention was paid to the issue of preparing the CIS member states for the celebration of the 80th anniversary of victory in the World War II, as well as issues of cultural and humanitarian cooperation within the framework of unification and strengthening border security. Last week, delegations from 190 countries, 15 observer states and more than 25 international and interparliamentary organizations arrived in Tashkent to participate in the Interparliamentary Union Assembly. The Assembly organized almost 90 events aimed at expanding the participation and increasing the activity of parliaments in achieving social progress and building a just society. In addition to multilateral cooperation, a number of bilateral meetings were held at the sidelines of the forum. Thus, the President of Uzbekistan, Mr. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, received the chairman of the parliaments of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. Within the framework of the multilateral meeting, issues of strengthening friendship, good neighborness and strategic partnership between the republics were discussed. In addition, a separate meeting was held with Sahida Gafarova, chairperson of the Milli Majlis of Azerbaijan. At the meeting, they discussed strengthening Uzbek-Azerbaijani relations, as well as joint projects within the framework of the Year of Economic Cooperation. They noted the growth of trade turnover and successful work in various spheres of economy and culture. It should be emphasized that the anniversary assembly is being held in Central Asia for the first time in Uzbekistan. The Kazakhstan commodity market, Caspian, and the Uzbek Republic commodity and raw materials market signed an agreement on cooperation in the field of exchange, trade in agricultural products. The document creates a basis for the integration of electronic trading platforms. It's expected that this will help to simplify and speed up the process of cross-border trade in vegetables and fruits. This is especially relevant for the Central Asian region, where high volumes of agricultural production are combined with active cross-border trade. The agreements were reached within the framework of the International Forum Exchange Commodity Market 2025, which was held in Tashkent. Another important area of cooperation is quality standards, certification and product safety. Both sides also agreed to work together in the field of logistics to create comfortable conditions for deliveries and to exchange experience in the field of digital solutions and exchange technologies. It is expected that the first joint pilot trades will be launched in 2025. In general, according to the results of last year, mutual trade between the two countries reached $4 billion of USD. But the heads of state set a more ambitious goal to increase this figure to $10 billion of USD. Uzbekistan, in its turn, continues to actively develop trade relations with Afghanistan. Two countries agreed to regularly monitor trade barriers and increase trade turnover to $2 billion of USD by the end of 2025. The agreement was reached at a meeting between the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Uzbekistan, Mr. Davron Vahabov, with the Ministry of Trade of Afghanistan, Mr. Nuruddin Azizi. The negotiations discussed projects in the poultry and textile industries, the development of transport and logistics networks, and the simplification of supply chains. Information on any problem will be sent directly to the Afghan Ministry of Trade within the 15 days for prompt resolution. The parties also discussed the development of the logistics sector and optimization of supply chain. Particular attention was paid to the pharmaceutical market of Afghanistan, which is estimated alone at $2 billion of USD and largely depends on imports. This opens an opportunities for Uzbek suppliers. The parties also discussed issues of demand, registration procedures, and rules for advertising medicines in Afghanistan, as well as the possibility of creating local production. During the visit, the possibilities of supplying Uzbek construction materials, including basalt products for large infrastructure and social facilities, were also discussed. The annual need of the Afghanistani side for construction materials is estimated at 350 or 400 million of USD. Previously, they were imported mainly from Turkey. That's all from my part. Dorian, giving the floor back to you.
Thank you very much, Ojed, for this detailed review. The National Bank of Kazakhstan has decided to maintain the base interest rate at 16.5%, in line with expectations from market analysts and financial experts. Speaking at a press briefing, Governor of the National Bank Timur Süleymanov announced that the annual inflation rose to 10% in March, falling within the forecast range of 10 to 12%. He noted that tariff hikes and global price liberalization continue to pose pro-inflationary risks for the country. Süleymanov also warned that if the global geo-economic situation changes abruptly, the National Bank may adjust the base rate at any time. Let me remind you that the base rate plays a crucial role in setting loan interest rates for consumers and directly affects the country's overall inflation dynamics. In Seoul, the second Kurultai of Kazakhs in Asia brought together nearly 200 ethnic Kazakhs from across the region, including South Korea, Malaysia, Japan, China and Mongolia. Held at Hanguk University of Foreign Studies, the two-day gathering focused on preserving the Kazakh language and traditions. Day 1 featured a cultural conference and Kazakh language speaking contest for Korean students, along with display of jewelry, cuisine and folk music. On Day 2, participants celebrated Nowruz with music, dance, games and exhibitions of traditional crafts. Film screenings, competitions, exhibitions and concerts. The Francophonie Spring Festival is back in Kazakhstan. Now in its 15th year, the festival celebrates the French language and culture with a diverse lineup of entertainment and cultural events over the course of 2 months. One of the highlights of the program is a tour by the renowned Jeremy Teroy Trio with jazz performance scheduled for the end of the month in Kazakh cities of Karaganda and Almaty. Another major event is the Francophonie Spring Competition, where the grand prize is a pair of airline tickets to Paris. Movie and food enthusiasts can also take part at the film festival and gastronomic week at some of Astana's top restaurants.
I encourage all children in Kazakhstan to watch the film Flow. Another film will be about Sarah Bernhardt, the renowned French actress, so there will be interesting films. We'll also have a week of francophone gastronomy in various restaurants, including in Astana. Our cooperation with Kazakhstan in promoting the French language continues to grow, and we're receiving strong support.
In a move to further solidify its position as a regional leader in technology, Kazakhstan is expanding its focus on artificial intelligence. Currently, the country ranks among the top in Central Asia for AI adoption, with a majority of projects concentrated in GovTech, FinTech and Smart City initiatives. Now Kazakhstan is setting its sights on a broader AI integration across various sectors, aiming to become one of the largest digital hubs in the Eurasian space. This push for digital transformation and the increased use of neural networks took center stage at the Gen AI Day conference in Astana. The event brought together industry leaders, global companies and top analysts in the cloud technologies and machine learning. Experts from Kazakhstan, Poland and Germany shared insights and successful cases of studies of AI implementation in both the public and private sectors, underscoring the potential of artificial intelligence to drive innovation and economic growth.
What tasks can AI help solve? For instance, document processing. Some documents contain handwritten data that must be digitized. Machine learning can be used to extract and store this data in a knowledge base. Additionally, generative AI can be applied for customer service through chatbots.
What we currently have in terms of AI development and implementation includes biometrics and AI-based scoring systems, particularly in credit scoring. At this stage, AI is mainly a tool, something you can use for help in your work.
And that's it for today. All the main news about Kazakhstan and Central Asia you can find here. More special projects about our country you can also watch on Silkway TV channel. So stay tuned and see you next week.